On today's show,
we'll discuss Kevin Durant's knee injury and the effect it could have on the West standings.
In Crossfire, we debate the pickup who'll have the biggest impact if injured Joel Embiid should win ROY, and the player with the best chance of scoring 100.
And we're headed back to the butcher shop to check in on some tasty NBA beefs.
It's Wednesday, March 1st. The starter starts now.
Good evening, sweet world, and welcome to The Starters. Whether you're listening to the podcast or joining us live right now on NBA TV or later on YouTube, we're very, very happy to have you. I'm Jay Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Tass Mellis.
Just want to wish Fontigo Cummings a happy birthday, because he was born on February 29th. He doesn't get a birthday every year.
It's tough.
Happy birthday, Fontigo.
So he's super young.
Yeah, he's like 4.
Yeah, exactly. Two Tasses right. It's the international man of mystery taking it to the max. Lee Ellis.
Friend.
Lily, and last, certainly not least, over there, it is the bearded one. It's Trey Kirby.
Hey-yo!
Hey-yo! TK, what do you got for us?
Well, I'm here at the internet looking for your best tweets at #TheStarters. And guys, Markieff Morris came up big for the Wizards last night. He scored 22 points and hit a pair of clutch free throws with 3 seconds remaining to ice things for the Wizards in their big win over the Warriors. After the game, Markieff was asked about those free throws, and he had a hilarious response.
My wife tell me all the time I got beat.
Dibberts.
So, that's all.
Dibberts.
Why?
Don't think I've ever heard anything like that in a post-game interview, but it brings us to today's question. What's the funniest NBA quote of all time? To me, it's either the one we just heard or the time Antoine Walker was asked, "Why do you shoot so many threes?" And he replied, "'Cause there are no fours." Took me about 2 hours to verify he'd ever actually really said this, but apparently he did back in 2003, so that's my vote. But we want to hear from you, so let us know on Twitter. What's the funniest NBA quote of all time? Send us your favorites to #TheStarters, and we'll hear from you a little bit later.
Oh, we're going to get some good ones. I can't
There's
wait
some
for
classics.
That. All right, we got a fun show tonight. We got Tass and I in head-to-head battle in Crossfire, and we're going to go back to the NBA butcher shop because there's been some tasty new NBA beefs that we need to contemplate buying.
Love
So we'll
beef.
get to that later. But first, look, we got to start with the big news from last night. The Warriors announced this morning that Kevin Durant will be out at least a month following a left knee injury last night versus the Wizards. He underwent an MRI last night and was diagnosed with a grade 2 MCL sprain and a tibial bone bruise. He will be reevaluated in 4 weeks, but we got to play a little 3-on-3 KD edition. Trey, you got the big cues. Hopefully we got some answers for you.
Yeah, that's right. KD's going to miss at least 15 of the Warriors' remaining 22 games, probably more, but they've got a 4-game lead on the Spurs for first in the West. So guys, will the Dubs retain the number 1 seed? What you think?
Ooh, things got a little more interesting in the West. I don't want to wish ill will on anyone, but this made the season a little bit more juicy. I do think that they hold on to it, though, mainly because Steph Curry can just go back into his role that he played last year. It's not like they have to rejig everything. Steph can go back to being MVP Steph. The usage rate goes up like it did last year. And yes, obviously there are a lot of new parts, so things are different. But as Trey said, they've got a 4-game lead, a 3-game lead in the loss column over the Spurs. And this is going to be fun for Steph. You know, again, he can be MVP Steph. Everything goes through me. The shooting has gone down a little bit this year because of everything he's had to learn playing beside Kevin Durant. And I think that gap right there is big enough, even though they do play 2 games in San Antonio later on this year.
If any team was built, honestly, to handle a loss like this, it's the Warriors, isn't
Of course.
it? They got 3 all-stars, all-NBA talent there after KD goes down. And look, I think last night when we were freaking out of whether or not KD was done for the season, that's a different story, because then obviously you're wondering, wow, could they get to the finals? Could they challenge for a title? 4 weeks is the best case scenario. Now, that doesn't mean he's back in 4 weeks. He's obviously reevaluated in 4 weeks, but that should be enough time in theory that he hopefully gets a couple reps in under him before the playoffs start. And really, do they even need him back for the first round of the playoffs?
No, probably not.
They don't.
No.
I mean, and that is like, I don't mean any knock against the Nuggets or the Blazers, but the Warriors are that powerful. They would still take care of them. That second round, and when you get into obviously the conference finals, when they will need him.
And the thing is as well with the Spurs, Greg Popovich is not going to change his strategy. He's going to keep his guys rested where he can down the stretch. You know, he doesn't chase these sorts of things just to get that number 1 seed. Sure, he'd like it. If it's in play maybe in the last game or 2, he might go for it then. But I think Popovich is just still going to keep doing what he's doing in San Antonio, make sure his guys are ready to go rather than worrying about what any other team is doing.
That's a good point. And the Rockets, as we showed you, they're just way too far back.
Exactly, they're not going to catch him.
I think the concern here, too, though, with the injury is is it going to be what happened to Steph Curry last year, right? Because Steph gets injured, misses some time, that's fine, obviously right around the playoffs, and he misses a good chunk of the playoffs, and he comes back. But he was never quite the same. That'll be interesting to see with KD whenever he gets back, be it 4, 5, 6 weeks. Will he be able to just slide back in there and sort of play at 100%? Because Steph never really, truly found the form, at least for a good chunk of time after the injury.
No, but Steph got injured in the playoffs. Yep. He had to play in the postseason at some point, and they tried to be conservative and keep him out as long as possible. I think the Warriors are saying, well, at least one of our best players got injured in the regular season and not in the postseason, because Steph had to miss 6 games in the playoffs last year. And who knows, how he felt. He didn't come out and declare it during the postseason that he was hurt, but he said after it was all said and done, after 3-1 became 4-3, he did say that knee was a little bit injured. And who knows?
He looked it as well.
Yeah. He did not look right.
No.
I totally agree with you. And one thing about the Kevin Durant diagnosis, who knows if they're being totally straight with us? They have no reason to be totally straight with us. Maybe he'll be fine in 3 weeks. I mean, I know it's all sort of speculation, but I think they're being conservative, is my point.
And they can afford to be.
Yes.
Because they're 4 games up, as we showed you, and they've still got an amazing team.
Yeah, and one thing going against them, though, is that Steve Kerr said their schedule is insane. He was going to rest guys down the stretch. Maybe he does rest guys.
Right.
And like we've said about the Cavs, maybe the 1 seed isn't all that important to them because they want to be healthy. But you're right in that they're still going to win a first-round series.
I would think so. All right, Trey, next one.
All right, you can't really replace Kevin Durant, but this is a team that won a title, went to the last 2 finals, and went 73-9 last year. So, guys, who needs to step up in KD's absence?
Well, Matt Barnes is going to play that role. They had a Harrison Barnes last year, just throwing a Matt Barnes now.
Another Barnes in the mix.
Yeah, open the Barnes yard door and everything's going to be all right. I think he's obviously just stays in the corner and doesn't do a lot of handling and just lets the game come to him. I was shocked by the signing.
How quickly it came about, yeah.
Yeah, I really didn't see it happening, but he's going to get the load of the minutes, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, you have to applaud the organization for making a quick move like that. Durant has the injury. You don't know at the time if it's going to be the rest of the season or 4 weeks or whatever it is, and he decides, Myers and that organization, we don't have a lot of guys at the small forward position. We truly don't, and we don't like to start Iguodala, so they go out and get, probably the best option available that you can get.
He's been playing, so he's match fit.
Yeah, exactly.
He's ready to play, yeah.
The concern for me is not on the offensive end so much; it's more on the defensive end. Because coming into the season, the questions were, will Kevin Durant be able to fill the void left by Andrew Bogut and Ezeli? And he's proven that he definitely can do that because he's a more versatile defender. He can defend the rim, but he can also get out to the perimeter.
Yeah.
But you saw last night against the Washington Wizards, they had a lot of easy baskets around the hoop when Zaza was out there. Zaza is a good box-out defender. He's a good body defender, but he simply cannot intimidate and defend the rim like Kevin Durant can and come over and help out. And if you are now playing against the Warriors, you have to look at them and say, we have to get inside and put pressure on their guys inside.
Yeah, and that's why they got Matt Barnes, I believe, because Matt Barnes, not a rim defender by any means, but a scrappy defender. I mean, he wants to get dirty. He gets his nose dirty and he plays on that end. They didn't go get an offensive-minded guy. Matt Barnes is going to sit there and shoot. So he will play both ends.
Yeah, I will be curious to see who Kerr puts into the death lineup, though. Will he slide Livingston into there with obviously your Curry, your Clay, your Draymond Green, and your Iguodala who plays the 4, or do you go with Barnes? Like, will Barnes work in that? That'll be something to watch, obviously.
You expect JaVale's going to get a few more minutes just to get out there, but certainly when they need to run, he's not their best to have in that lineup to get them to get points on the board quickly.
I wonder if this is obviously a little side note here. Does this help Draymond Green's chances to win Defensive Player of the Year? You said Kevin Durant's been amazing, and he has, but now he's gone for a good chunk here, 15 games or so, maybe. Does that, if they don't lose a step here, maybe that helps Draymond Green even more. Yeah. He's obviously in the running. He's out of the top 3 guy easily. All right, Trey, one more question.
All right, we know things are bad for both KD and the Warriors, but aside from them, who's the biggest loser in this whole injury thing?
Jose Calderon was going to be a member of the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
They signed him, they released him. Yeah, it's almost a ticket to the NBA Finals by signing with the Golden State Warriors. Jose Calderon, by all accounts, one of the best teammates in the NBA. He's never made it past the first round.
Yep.
Wow, yeah.
This was going to be a nice little ticket for him. He's played with the Lakers, the Raptors, Detroit, Dallas, New York, never made it past that first round. I just feel bad for a guy who everybody loves around the NBA. And he'll sign with the team, and he'll be able to go into the playoffs, he'll be playoff eligible. Maybe with our Hawks here in Atlanta, there's some rumors about that. But, it's a little bit of a downgrade from the Golden State Warriors.
Besides Jose, I think, this is cliche, I guess, but the fans are a big loser here. And not just because of the KD injury. February sucked. February straight up sucked for injuries. StatMuse putting together this graphic that went up today. I mean, all of these guys we lost in February, be it Levine and Parker and Love and Lowry and Bede and Noah and Durant. I mean, that's some big names.
Yeah.
Some big names there, and some of them coming back, some of them not, but tough loss for the Warriors. But again, if any team can handle this, I think they're built for it. Helps when you got 3 other All-Stars in the mix. All right, lots more still to come on the starters tonight. When we come back, Tass and I go head-to-head in a heated round of Crossfire. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to Crossfire. This is how it works. Trey will give Skeets and me 3 topics. We'll debate each one. At the end of it all, Trey will declare a winner. Trey, what's our first topic?
All right, round 1. It's been an active buyout season with a whole mess of notable names joining up with contenders to get their ring game on. But which new pickup will have the biggest impact? Here we go.
I think it's Deron Williams, because I think he's the best player of this sort of pickup class that's joining the Cavs.
Okay.
I think of all the other guys, he's the best. LeBron James wasn't asking for a bleeping big man. He wanted a bleeping playmaker, and he's getting one. He's getting one in Deron Williams. The guy can still play. He's not 2005 Deron Williams, but 13-7 in about 30 minutes with the Mavericks this season. Played in 40 games. He can create his own shot. He's awesome in the pick and roll, especially as a passer. He can play a little 2-ball. I think he's the playmaker LeBron wanted, and I think he's going to contribute.
That's fair. He probably will contribute more than Andrew Bogut, but I'm taking Andrew Bogut because he's got the Warriors' secrets.
Oh, what?
You know what he knows what the Warriors are doing. And listen, I don't think that this guy is a terrible player. I think people forget. He was a starter on a 73-win team last year. He's got a block per minute or block per game in limited minutes this year, which is impressive. And as David Aldridge said, he's basically going to be Tristan Thompson's relief man for the rest of the season. So that helps out. Deron will probably play more, but Andrew Bogut, he knows some things.
See?
He's got the secrets. Round 2 coming up. 76ers announced today that Joel Embiid would miss the rest of the season after an MRI showed that the meniscus tear in his left knee was more pronounced than they originally thought. He's only played 31 games this season. So should Joel Embiid win Rookie of the Year? Here we go.
Yes.
No.
We know that he is the best rookie this season. I don't care about the numbers. I don't care about the bloggers and the numbers they come up with.
They're still
all these
bloggers.
bloggers and these nerds with their numbers. Joel Embiid is the best player, bar none, by far. I don't want
when he plays.
I don't want the second place guy to have his name on the trophy this year.
Why?
In 2016, 2017, Joel Embiid has been the biggest and best rookie.
It comes down, it does, what you're saying here, to sample size or per minute production. Per minute production, you're right, it's Joel Embiid by a landslide. But sample size matters, because it matters with all the other awards. You gotta play at least half the games. At 31 games, that's way too
tearing up the books
20% of the minutes Joel Embiid will play by the end of the season. 20% test. That's why it has to go to a guy that's just played more. Maybe they're not as amazing as Joel Embiid, be it a Dario Saric or a Malcolm Brogdon or whoever, but they're more deserving because they've played a good chunk of the season. It has to.
There's such a big gap between number 1 and 2. The game doesn't change. Forget the numbers.
It doesn't matter if Joel Embiid wins.
Round 3.
I need these. Going to use them here.
Our pal Shea Serrano put up a fun article on The Ringer today trying to figure out which NBA player might ever topple Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game. So let's hear what y'all think. Which NBA player could beat Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game? Here we go!
Shea Serrano ultimately comes to the conclusion that Klay Thompson is maybe the most likely to do it. I have to agree, which sounds a little crazy. He's not the best player on the list that Shea was getting to, be it Harden, Durant, and so on. But Klay Thompson, when he catches fire, it's just insane. We've seen it a couple times now. The 37-point quarter a couple years ago, the 60-point game last year, where he only hit 8 threes, which is funny because the guy could easily, some game, hit 15 or 20 threes. I don't think it'll ever happen, but I would go with Klay because he's a robot. He's a robot, man.
He's a very good robot. This is crazy to pick a guy because I don't think it'll ever happen again. But I'm going to go with Klay's teammate, Kevin Durant. A guy who plays off the ball like Klay to save the legs. You don't have to bring up the ball each and every time like Steph or like a Russell Westbrook would. And The difference between KD and Klay for me is that KD can get his own shot, unlike Klay. KD can create, and he's on a team that will give. Come on, KD can create more than Klay Thompson.
When Klay went for 60, he had the ball in his hands for 90 seconds, played
Exactly.
29 minutes, and only dribbled it 11 times.
You're making my point for me.
He creates his own shot a different way, off the ball.
He does this.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant can create his own shot.
All right. We got to declare a winner, and the winner is Tess Bellis.
You know what I got in here?
Can't beat the pocket. Take a break. When we come back, we're headed to the NBA Butcher Shop for some tasty new beefs. Don't go anywhere. Back with the starters, and we are headed back to Trey's Butcher Shop because Butcher Trey's got some tasty, hopefully, new beefs to try and sell us. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys are lucky to come in today because this beef right here, it's a tasty beef. Tender young Devin Booker here on one side and the tough, sinewy Grizzlies on the other. People don't expect this beef to be so delicious, but it's good. You buying this beef?
I am not buying this beef.
Oh, I'm buying that beef.
You want this beef?
I'm not buying the
it.
Booker Grizzlies
Why
beef.
not? It's
I mean,
real.
look, okay, let's look at last night's incident where Vince Carter gets tossed. Look what happens, okay? Booker's playing a little defense. Trying to play tight defense on the older guy in Vince. The whistle blows, all right? The whistle goes, and Booker continues to play through it.
Ooh, that was
And then,
beefy.
so he bodied him up a little bit, and then we didn't show you the part. Like, we didn't show you the part where Booker bodies him up, and then Vince, oh, here you go.
Right.
And then Vince pops the elbow.
Yeah.
But I think Booker's a little off balance there. So I don't think he really, it totally connected.
No, and Devin Booker said, I wish that Vince Carter wasn't ejected from this game.
Right,
Because, you know why? Because there's a beef going on with his team. Because he wants to play it out because there have been incidents already this calendar year. That's the third instance where these two teams have gotten it on. It's so rare that I come into this butcher shop, I'm buying that beef.
Well, the thing is with Devin Booker as well is a lot of these old guys see him as the young guy coming through, and
He
they
is.
just want to, and they just want to make sure that he respects his elders a little bit there. It's fine to play tight D. The whistle blew. Vince just gave him a little chicken wing.
You're mentioning some of the previous altercations.
Yeah.
You know, Booker pushed, I believe, Zach Randolph in the back. He was upset with a no call, and immediately after they were hugging. So that was cool. You know, look, Zach goes down there. Later in the game, they're hugging. It's cool, young fella. We're fine, no problem. And then there was this whole one with Troy Daniels, and he was talking trash, and Troy was talking it back. Yeah, I mean, look, they're going back and forth, but these teams aren't meeting in the playoffs, so.
No, but in the NBA, do you usually get 3 incidents like this within just over 4 weeks?
No, I guess not.
That's beefy.
All right, you talked me into buying that beef. Throw that beef for. We'll buy that beef. Wow, that's a lot of beef.
Well,
Can I touch that beef?
That's a nice beef right there, real bloody.
Slap that beef.
We actually got some chicken wings in the back too, Lee, if you're
nice.
interested in it.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned it earlier, but big news.
Less fatty.
2 for 1 beef today, my guys. You buy that one beef? I'm throwing in the Paul Pierce Draymond Green beef as well. Let me tell you, that's a great deal. Look at all this beef. You buying this beef?
Yeah, Draymond versus Pierce. I'm buying this beef because Draymond, he recently added some flavor, some salt, some little salt bay is what he did. Because he went on his podcast, the Uninterrupted podcast, and he said about Paul Pierce, people tend to forget he was struggling to get to the playoffs, was on the trade block every year. Then all of a sudden, Ray Allen and KG showed up. Let's not forget that. This after the whole incident that was caught, obviously, on a marquee game where Pierce had admitted that he started the trash talk from the sidelines, and then Draymond shouting back, "What do you think, you're Kobe?" You got the farewell tour and all that. So this is real. I mean, it's trash talk, but it's real.
And Pierce's tweet, the 3-1 joke, that's a weak comeback. That's the easiest joke to make in the world.
Okay.
And Pierce has to remember, he blew a 3-2 lead and a 13-point lead in Game 7 of the finals. So, hey, if you
should be Draymond Green.
Do you think though what Draymond said there, like those shots about, hey Pierce, you weren't really anything until KG and Ray showed up, was a little too low? I mean, he was a 25 point per game scorer.
Totally.
He was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
like Paul Pierce had played something like 30 playoff games before KG and Ray showed up. I mean,
he was a
obviously
very
hadn't won
good
title,
player.
but he was great. Yeah,
Great player. But he did say he wanted out of Boston as well.
So
Draymond's
So
right
you think
here.
Draymond's speaking the truth here?
Draymond's right, and also Draymond, what he said to him on the bench was right as well. You know, you want the fair wear to it. He's not even playing.
Paul Pierce is a legend.
Yeah.
Paul Pierce is a legend. Give me that beef.
It's like in Seattle where you throw the fish.
Yeah, we just got beefs though.
Here, you got beef twins.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, congratulations on your beef twins. What are their names?
Beefy and Beefoo.
That is improvisation, people.
Call one Kobe.
Oh, man. All right, after the break. Proud beef parent over here is very solid play. We asked you, what is the funniest NBA quote of all time? Trey, you got a few of the best answers coming through the Twitter machine.
Yeah, some really good ones. Nathan Miles says, "Confidence, baby, confidence!"
That's your winner right there.
A starter's favorite for sure. Naseeb says, "We're going to turn this team around 360 degrees." Jason Kidd classic, but my favorite answer comes from Bernardo. "We're going to Game 7, baby, Game 7!"
Nice.
Another classic.
Last night, this was a classic. Huge game. It was the final game of February. Trey and I were tied. I took the Thunder. I picked up the win. Russell Westbrook, I love you. Trey, you are paying off your February loss. We're going to save it till March 8th. And we got a March Madness pick'em payoff to it. So
I have to watch a college game? Oh! Gotcha, NCAA.
No. We'll come up with something fun. All right. We're starting it all over for the month of March here in the Pick'em contest. Cavs Celtics on ESPN. 3 of you guys are saying the Cavs. I'm the only one taking the home team Celtics. Go Boston. All right, Lee, VSP time, baby.
We're going out to the Verizon Center for a double-ender. Kelly Oubre Jr. gets the steal. Now watch this beautiful transition. Ends back with Kelly for a nice finish.
Wow.
Hey,
That was pretty sexy too, Lee.
Well, it's not sexy. It's solid.
Let's
It's
watch
solid.
a touch pass here.
Yeah,
This is nice.
that's beautiful from Beerley. Over
not
there
touch pass.
to Oubre. That's what I call a very solid play.
All right. We finally have some time for the fan signs that just keep pouring in here.
They do. This one is a beauty from Mike at the Raptors-Celtics game on Friday night. Look at the artwork.
Wow.
Even Matty O looks great up there.
Beautiful.
I thought you were going to call his arms beautiful.
This one comes from Alexander, who says, "I'm not an artist."
No, you could tell.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
Why do we have to zoom in to see
Zoom
this
in.
one?
Well, it gets better, trust me. Zach and his wife celebrated their 5th wedding anniversary, also at that Raptors-Celtics game on Friday.
Where's the sign?
What am I looking at
It's
here?
a sign, trust me, yeah. Mitch and Julianne were at the Warriors game over the weekend. It was her first
Now
ever
that's
game.
nice. Now that's
Nice.
nice.
Beautiful, nice colours, Canadian and American
Yeah.
flags there. Sasha and his sister flew from London to LA for the Clippers-Hornets game over the weekend. And Zandy and Zandy Jr. Were at the Jazz and Wizards game on Sunday
Their
night.
name is Zandy? That is amazing.
And last night at the Verizon Center, Sean and his son Connor, 2 signs. It was his birthday. Great job, everyone.
Wow, fan signs coming in. All right, guys.
Thanks for joining us, folks. And remember, the reason for shirt pockets is to store extra meat.
Brace the night, people.
Yeah.
What?
Beef fumble.